What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today is September 12th of 2021, and in this video we're going to talk about the no-hitter that was thrown last night by the Milwaukee Brewers, 8 innings of which was thrown by starter Corbin Burnes, with the final inning being thrown by closing pitcher Josh Hader. Now, for those of you who have had the pleasure of following my channel for the past several months, you know I've been doing a lot of videos on baseball and particularly no-hitters. And this is from a string of synchronicities that began back in May, all in connection to the death of Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs from 2019. And just to quickly recap what I've been covering so far, down in the description below you'll find some links to my past videos on no-hitters. This begins with John Means' no-hitter for the Orioles back in May. Now, the last time the Orioles threw a no-hitter before this was July 13th, 1991, which was Tyler Skaggs' birthday. And again, Tyler Skaggs was the Angels pitcher who died back in 2019. The next Angels home game after Tyler Skaggs died was the first combined no-hitter in the state of California since the day Tyler Skaggs was born. So that was a pretty incredible synchronicity. And this Orioles no-hitter was connected. Well, then fast forward a couple months, and we get to this no-hitter thrown by Tyler Gilbert. And this is also linked in the description. This is the first man named Tyler to ever throw a no-hitter. And it was thrown for the Arizona Diamondbacks, which was the other team that Tyler Skaggs played for during his career. And now, by the way, this was the 8th no-hitter this season in the major leagues, which is a new record. And now, last night, the Brewers threw the 9th no-hitter, extending that record. And, you know, I've been following this no-hitter stuff for several months. I live in the city of Milwaukee. The Brewers were the team that I grew up watching. And it all started when I was a little kid going to County Stadium. And County Stadium is where the film Major League was shot back in 1989. This was a 1989 release anyway. And I want you to think about last night's no-hitter thrown by Corbin Burnes. It just so happened that Corbin Burnes threw this no-hitter in the city of Cleveland. And the film Major League, which again was shot in the city of Milwaukee, features a fictionalized version of the Cleveland Indians. And notice how this film poster has 3 actors on it. One of these men is Corbin Burnson. Corbin Burnson, whose name sounds incredibly similar to Corbin Burnes. So, of course, we'll look at the numerical synchronicities that exist between these two. And in fact, this is a relationship that I documented way back in 2018 when Burnes first stormed on the scene with the Brewers during the playoffs. And what I want to point out about this post is how I even point out how the numerology of pi is significant to Corbin Burnes. And last night, his no-hitter was the 314th no-hitter in Major League history. And of course, 3.14, the first 3 digits of pi. And as we go on, we'll also talk about how last night's boxing match between Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort, which was oddly enough commentated by former President Donald Trump, this event was connected to this 9th no-hitter thrown by the Milwaukee Brewers. So there's a lot of powerful numerology to uncover with this game, and I personally, it's going to be tough to know where to start. But like we normally do, we'll begin with the date numerology. Now, yesterday was September 11th, the 20th anniversary of the attacks on the Twin Towers back in 2001, which is relevant to this. We'll get into that as we go. But I want you to notice how yesterday had primary numerology of 61, if you add up the digits 9 plus 11 plus 20 plus 21. Using the alphabetic order, the name Corbin sums to 61, Corbin Burnes equals 601 in Jewish Gematria, And he wears number 39, which equals 61 in reduction. His no-hitter was thrown in the state of Ohio, which is 61 in reverse. Now, as I mentioned, this was the 314th no-hitter thrown in the history of Major League Baseball, connected to the film Major League. Now, if you rearrange the digits in 314, you can get 143. In fact, in Hebrew Gematria, 143 is the Gematria of the word circle. Notice how, in the reverse order, the city of Milwaukee, which is written on the front of their jerseys, sums to 143. Last night was the Milwaukee Brewers' 143rd game of the season, and on the date of this game, Corbin Burnes was exactly 1,403 weeks old. This was only the second time in the history of the Brewers franchise that they threw a no-hitter. The first time they threw a no-hitter was in 1987 by Juan Nieves, the only no-hitter in Brewer history before last night. So this was in the year 1987, and there was a pitcher on the Brewers roster in the year 1987. You'll see he began in 86 through 92. This is Dan Plesac, former longtime Brewers pitcher. Well, Dan Plesac's son, Zach Plesac, was the opposing pitcher in last night's game against the Milwaukee Brewers. See here, he pitches for Cleveland. What are the odds of that, right? And to make this even more bizarre, last night, Cleveland became the first team in Major League history to get no-hit 3 times in the first season. And if that's not strange enough, all 3 of those games had Zach Plesac on the mound as the starting pitcher. Can you imagine being more unlucky than this poor guy? But these are some pretty wild synchronicities right off the bat here. So Corbin Burnes, with his victory last night, now has a career record of 22-10. And think about these two numbers, 22 and 10. Check out Burnes' birthday, October 22nd, which is the date that can be written 22/10. These same digits also found in this current year, 2021, right? 2021. Last night's game was played in the city of Cleveland, and Cleveland is the largest city that the 2024 total solar eclipse will pass over. And if you measure from last night's game to that eclipse, you get 2 years, 210 days, 22 and 10. We'll get more into this eclipse code as we go. But something else that I pointed out way back in 2018 is that Corbin Burnes was born exactly 2,024 days after the release of the film Major League with Corbin Burnson. And 2024 is the year of this next Great American Total Solar Eclipse. So how appropriate, again, that this game was thrown in Cleveland, which, by the way, is not even a team that the Brewers play every year. This was an interleague matchup. So Corbin Burnes was born in the year 1994. This is similar to the English Gematria of total solar eclipse, 994. Remember, the Milwaukee basketball team won the NBA Finals this year. They were led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was also born in 1994. The closing pitcher of this game, Josh Hader, also born in 1994. 994 is also the Gematria of 61, which was the number we led this video talking about. So there's a little bit more here about 9/11, which I really want to get into in a second. Before I do, I want to point out that Josh Hader, who finished this game for the Milwaukee Brewers, again, Burnes only pitching the first 8 innings. Notice how Josh Hader was born on the date April 7th, which is the anniversary of the release of the film Major League, also released on April 7th. All right. So we'll revisit more about this in a second, but I want to check out the big 9/11 synchronicity last night. And this ties us to the boxing match between Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. So the number 9/11 and its inverse 119 has been stamped on Donald Trump for a very long time. This was even displayed in a Certa commercial where he talked to sheep's number 11 and 9. The name Donald equals 119 in Jewish Gematria. And look at how the phrase ninth no-hitter has matching Gematria with Donald Trump. Trump was 90 days after his birthday last night, which is the ordinal value of Brewers. The Brewers won their 88th game of the season last night. That's the ordinal value of Trump. So Donald equals 119. The game was played on the 11th of September, which is the date that can be written 11/9. In this game, the Brewers defeated the Indians. And notice how Indians equals 119. Last night's boxing match featured Evander Holyfield, who was born on October 19th, which is a date with the same digits, 119. The film Major League, released in 1989, came out on a date with primary numerology of 119. In the film Major League, the closing pitcher wears glasses, and when Corbin Burns first entered the league, he was a relief pitcher who also wore glasses. Charlie Sheen was born on a date with primary numerology of 119. I'm sorry, he was born on the date leaving 119 days in the year. His birthday falls 1 month and 19 days before Corbin Burns's. Last night's game was finished by Josh Hader, who was exactly 10,019 days old on the date of the game. And if you write the number 9/11 upside down, you get 116. Notice how Brewers equals 116. The year of the no-hitter equals 1160. And last night was also Corbin Burns' 1160th day in the major leagues. This 1160 synchronicity is something that I talked about in relation to Milwaukee earlier this year. Remember, Coach Mike Budenholzer was hired on May 17th of 2018, which fell exactly 1,160 days before the Bucks won the NBA championship. Also worth noting that Corbin Burns made his debut on July 10th, which is the 191st day of the year. And Josh Hader made his debut on June 10th, which is the 161st day of the year. So more 1s, 6s, 9s, all part of this big 9/11 code. And to further celebrate the anniversary of 9/11, notice how Burns and Hader wear numbers 39 and 71. Now, if you add up those numbers, 39 and 71, you get a sum of 110. And the World Trade Center was 110 stories tall. I should say original World Trade Center. 110 stories tall. In fact, the North Tower had a 110-meter antenna. Remember, the towers were brought down on 9/11, which equals 110. The towers were commissioned by the Rockefellers. Rockefeller equals 110. They tell us it was brought down by Osama bin Laden, which equals 110. The New York Port Authority oversaw the financing of the buildings. That sums to 110. And of course, in numerology, 110 represents the number 11. The two towers shaped like an 11, first struck by flight number 11, American Airlines AA or 11. Notice how the year of the no-hitter also equals 110. And Evander Holyfield, if you check out his primary birth numerology, it's also 110. There's so many things to cover, guys. Let me quick glance at these posts and figure out what I want to look at next. Okay, definitely this. So again, the big synchronicity here is that, Corbin Burnson, in the film, he wears goggles like the relief pitcher in the film wearing glasses. Now, this relief pitcher in the movie, played by Charlie Sheen, is named Ricky Vaughn. And Ricky Vaughn has matching 59 gematria with Corbin Burns. In the reverse order, Ricky Vaughn equals 158. Last night's game was 158 days after the anniversary of Major League, which is also the same day as Josh Hader's birthday, April 7th. Last night, again, was the 314th no-hitter thrown in the history of the major leagues. Charlie Sheen equals 314 in gematria. This is a big eclipse number, as we will dive into shortly. And for years on my blog, I've explained how the Brewers are connected to the moon. Notice how both Brewers and the moon equals 99. Of course, yesterday was 9/11. If you multiply 9 times 11, you get 99. Think about how the Brewers announcer, Euchre, equals 99. Bob Euchre starred in the film Major League. His full name, Robert George Euchre, equals 99 in both reduction methods. If you go to a Brewer game, you'll see the Bat Boys all wear number 99, which might be the case on a lot of teams, I'm not sure. But notice how closer Ricky Vaughn in this movie wears number 99 for the Indians. And the current Brewers closing pitcher, who was born on the date that Major League came out, Hader, equals 99. In English gematria, Hader equals 108. And look at Charlie Sheen's real name, Carlos Erwin Estevez. Carlos Erwin Estevez equals 108 with the S exception and 108 in reverse gematria. Remember, Major League equals 108 in the alphabetic order. The movie was filmed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which equals 108. A baseball has 108 stitches. Baseball equals 108. Remember, the Cubs broke a 108-year curse back in 2016. Last night's no-hitter was 108 days after this year's total lunar eclipse, the big event connected to the moon, which is, of course, connected to the Brewers. And this number 108 is significant to the geometry of the moon and the sun. Full moon equals 108 in both methods, so does geometry. There are 108 moons between the moon and the earth, 108 suns between the sun and the earth as well. The sun is even 108 Earths wide. Huge eclipse number. Now, if you multiply 108 times 2, you get 216. 108, 108, 216. Remember, the Cubs' 108-year curse was broken in the year 2016. The moon has an equatorial diameter of exactly 2,160 miles, 216. This game was played in Cleveland, which is home of the 216 area code. The name Hader equals 216, intriguingly enough. And it was connected to the lunar eclipse. Cleveland equals 33, so does lunar 33. Eclipse equals 33. And last night's game put the Brewers 33 games over 500 And I'm pretty sure that's the first time that's ever happened in the history of the franchise, as the Brewers never finished a season more than 30 games over 500 in the past. And 33 is a significant number to the moon, as it takes 33 solar years for the lunar calendar to fall back in sync, the 12-month lunar calendar, that is. And seeing as we're talking about area codes, the Milwaukee area code, primary one, is 414. And I thought it was interesting that Corbin Burnson was born 4,014 days before Charlie Sheen, his co-star in the film Major League. The word Eclipse equals 414, by the way. We mentioned the big lunar eclipse, how this game was 108 days after the lunar eclipse. By the way, the whole reason I made this connection between Corbin Burns and Corbin Burnson in the first place was back on October 8th, the date written 10/8, based on the eliminations of the two Native American teams in the playoffs that same day. So check that post out. It's all linked. But I was talking about this connection. Corbin Burnson. So check out Corbin Burnson's age. So he was born on September 7th, so he just had a birthday. So did Charlie Sheen, both of these guys born in early September. Corbin Burnson is currently 804 months old, which is the Jewish gematria of total lunar eclipse, 804. And this 84, it's found all over the gematria of Corbin Burns, his full name, his common name, and his first name, all with 184. Just glancing back at this boxing match again between Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. Both Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort have gematria of 162, and this is a huge number for baseball. Remember, in Major League Baseball, they play 162 games a year. The word baseball equals 162 in multiple methods. Major League Baseball equals 162 and 63, just like the name Vitor Belfort, the winner in last night's fight. Vitor Belfort's full name has matching 100 gematria with Milwaukee. And there's a lot of 666 in connection with Belfort's name. Think about how Major League equals 999 in upside down 666. And Belfort is 533 months old. That's the Jewish value of lunar eclipse. Vitor Belfort has more connections, by the way. So notice how Belfort equals 39. That's the value of both Evander and Holyfield. And Corbin Burns wears number 39. Corbin Burns connected to the relief pitcher from Major League, Charlie Sheen, who was born on the date 3/9, the 3rd of September. The 39th prime number is 167. Evander Holyfield, almost exactly 1,670 weeks older than Corbin Burns. He threw his no-hitter in Cleveland, which has matching gematria with both Evander Holyfield and Belfort. 78, 165, 33. Corbin Burns, intriguingly 322 months old. This found in the value of Vitor Belfort and Burnson, 322. The name Burnson equals 41 and 77. Belfort was born on 4/1/77. His birthday connected to Charlie Sheen, as well as the duration between their birthday. It's more than I can even comfortably talk about without wondering what the hell is going on. So, yeah, it's just been a bizarre couple months of synchronicities with baseball. And, I've been struggling a little bit over the past few months, really trying to figure out where to take this study, like how to frame this study and how to properly talk about this with people. Because over the years, I've realized that, yes, there's a conspiratorial element to it, and people should talk up about injustices in the world and how our freedoms are being eroded day by day. But there's another very beautiful element of synchronicity within all this. Like, I can decode all of these events all day and try to convince you that everything's rigged and scripted. I don't really think it is. And the primary reason I don't is because of how these things continue to develop in connection to my own personal life in ways that no human being could ever consciously rig. So despite all of the things that are going on in the world and how scary everything is, both for those who buy into the fear of the propaganda with the CV that's going on, and then the fear of those of us who see what's going on and how there's an intentional destruction of freedoms going on, I think we should all be aware of this geometry that's constantly in motion. And to me, this is evidence of a creator. And to see the creator in work, that there's still a consciousness going on alongside everything that's happening. I've been talking about this more and more in recent videos, and to me, this is a sign that there's something much greater than just a conspiracy, despite the fact that we do have to suffer through it. And just to go over everything that's happened on this channel since I really started struggling with this in particular, it was really like mid to late July where I started to think, how do I properly do this? Because the whole thing with the Bucks winning the NBA title here in Milwaukee, which is where I live, provided more synchronicity to my own personal life. But this sparked just a really wild couple of months here. It started with the death of Slipknot drummer Joey Jordison. And Joey Jordison was the drummer of Slipknot. And Slipknot released a song called Gematria, the Killing Name, which is really one of the only times you ever see Gematria in the mainstream, or the word Gematria in the mainstream. And this is, of course, what I've been teaching for damn near 5 years now on this channel and, of course, my first channel, which was deleted by YouTube. So I knew that the death of Joey Jordison would have a significant Gematria riddle, but how strong it was really blew me away, and it led me to talk about synchronicity with a baseball movie, particularly the film Angels in the Outfield, as this was all connected to Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So you had the death of a guy named Joey connected to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, another Joey. Then we had the death of Dusty Hill. And Dusty Hill, his real name is Joe, or Joseph, right? And then we had Joe Biden in the news with his vaccine mandate stuff really taking off. And then a couple days later, we had the death of a pro wrestler that was connected to a baseball game. And that pro wrestler was the Assassin. Let's see if I can find this here. The Assassin, the wrestler. And that wrestler was named Jody Hamilton, but his real name was Joseph. And one of my first jobs, I worked with a guy named Joey, who was a drummer for a band that was really similar to Slipknot. Here's the guy named Joey. I used to work with this guy. And see how he's dressed. This is kind of not really in the Slipknot style, I would say. More like a 30 Seconds to Mars thing they had going on. But I worked with this guy, and his name was Joey Zach. And who did I learn Gematria from? Zach Hubbard, right? And I'm almost getting choked up talking about this because, again, this is all such intense personal synchronicity that nobody could possibly rig, right? Nobody could possibly frame. So then I found out that Major League Baseball was planning a game at the Field of Dreams site in Iowa. And the other person I really learned about Gematria from was Dan Barrett, who lives in Iowa. Now, last year in Iowa, there was a significant windstorm which destroyed a bunch of corn crops. And this Major League Baseball Field of Dreams game was played in a cornfield, almost exactly 1 year to the day after this event. This storm started on August 10th. Now, on August 10th this year, there was a major windstorm in Milwaukee which knocked out my power for over 24 hours. It was the first time I had a power outage for more than a couple hours since I moved into my house. And of course, Field of Dreams, I mean, this is one of my favorite movies growing up. I was a huge baseball fan, like I said, as a kid. So this movie was big to me. Angels in the Outfield was big to me. And so was Major League. I mean, all of these films, I loved these movies growing up. And this past couple months, I've had strong synchronicities with all of them, right? So my power gets knocked out. And then a couple days later, this Field of Dreams game occurs. And I got a couple videos on the Field of Dreams game. Those are both linked in the description below. And by the way, this all happened within a couple days of Dan Barrett releasing his book. Which I can find here. So, oops. Yeah, Dan Barrett's book, The Synchronistic, which was released on August 6th, just a few days before the Field of Dreams game. Synchronistic equals 1303 in Jewish Gematria, just like windstorm, which equals 1303. The windstorm in Iowa was on 10/8, August 10th. The windstorm in Milwaukee was on August 10th, 10/8. So then I do another video on a no-hitter shortly thereafter. And then this all culminates in a no-hitter thrown by my team, the Milwaukee Brewers. So I hope I'm making my point clear here that I've had such a mind-blowing evolution of consciousness in the last year, but particularly the last few months, that, you know, I don't even... I guess what I'm getting at is that I'm a little less certain about what I'm saying is going on with numbers, because, you know, you see what's going on here, and there's just so much more than we can possibly understand. So I think that's it for the video. Not really sure how else to talk about all of this. I feel like I could have done a better job linking some of this together, but, you know, how deep do I need to go before you guys need to understand that something much, much greater is going on, that we are living in a construct that is capable of so much more than what our minds can handle. It's just incredible. So, shout out to Sam, Adam, Rick in the chat. You guys have been around for quite some time, and I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I have been backing off a little bit from the numerology because, well, there's more to life, right? I mean, you know, I'm in a weird spot where I quit my job a few months ago because I saw what was going on with these vaccine mandates and everything. I didn't want to have any part of it, so I got out of there before that even all happened. You know, I've talked about starting a Patreon and doing this full time, which I still want to do, but I've just got to get my head right first. And for the last few months, it's been a little bit of a struggle trying to reorient myself towards what I want to do. So maybe, you know, this will really come into full culmination next year, or by next year anyway. After all, my name does equal 2022, and none of the ciphers I teach does my name sum to a year that's anywhere close to where we are now. So, I do have to get my shit together and in gear, and I'll be doing it. But like I said, there's so much more to what we're seeing, and all I can do is help walk someone there, I guess. Help lead someone there. I can't make you see it. I can't force you to see it. I can only take people who are already suspicious of what's going on and confirming to them that, yes, the light is there. It really is. This universe is so much more amazing than you could possibly think. And we have channels to access how that all works. Insight into what's happening. So, are all these sports games rigged, guys? I'm going to go out on a limb and just say no. Which, it's funny for me to say that's going out on a limb, because when you ask most people, they'll say no. But in this world of conspiracy and numerology, I think a lot of people are certain it is. But, you watch these games and... like in the no-hitter last night, for instance, there were several line drives that were struck pretty hard that were caught, or at least one in the 8th inning that was really struck hard. And if this ritual was really in the works for decades, are they going to risk it on a line drive that gets barely caught in center field? Like, no, there's some type of magic going on there with everything that happened. So, it's just the break from Gematria is a little bit necessary, because I want to help bring people into this higher vibrational state of being. But I myself haven't quite been in that higher vibrational state. And a lot of it's had to do with what's going on in the world. I've had a little bit of an inability to separate myself from what's happening and try to look at the bigger picture. So... yeah, we'll all come back. We'll have a clearer perception on what's happening, and hopefully be able to talk about it a little more clearly. But there's definitely something big coming soon, man. I don't even think this whole vax mandate is really about getting people vaxxed. I think it's more about dividing people. The division between people right now is mind-blowing. It's so extreme, and I can't help but think that that's really the goal here. Like, of course I'm not going to take the vaccine. There's no question about it. I've been talking about a major world-altering event in 2020 for years. And as soon as we got coronavirus, I made a video explaining why the vaccine would be mandatory long before anybody even mentioned a vaccine. So, but again, that's not the whole thing. It's more about division. And my concern is that there's going to be an event that proves as a catalyst so that this division comes to a head. But I don't know what it's going to be. So, anyway, we'll see. Stick together, stay strong, speak your truth. Don't be shy about it, because silence, shyness, that's the kind of stuff that's holding a lot of people back. And a lot of people are getting messed up with the jabbo, But all that's for a different video. I'm going to cut it there. Thanks to everybody for jumping in and sticking with me for this stream. It's always much appreciated. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.